Almost every time coming here, I have this same sense of almost joy, great satisfaction and appreciation for even having the privilege of coming here to Andover. And I can remember the very first thing that I saw coming up here was the bell tower. I could see it through the trees. And it was the bell tower for the first couple of nights I stayed here. It woke me up every 15 minutes. It was happy times. I think about the only time I was unhappy was when I was not doing at all well in Latin. And I wasn't very happy with my teacher, and I called home to my dad and said, "Get me out of here." And he talked me into staying. But I liked the people, I liked the faculty, I liked the classes. I just liked everything about it. I wanted to do the thing that my dad spoke so highly of. I liked it from the first time I saw it, and it was always assumed that this is where I'd come for prep school. A little bit apprehensive, as almost every kid coming here for the first time, about what the experience would be like and how much you'd like it. I like Steve, even though I think he probably called me adult several times. One of my supposed friends in the class asked if he could borrow my homework just to check to see how his was. So what I didn't realize, he copied mine verbatim. And Steve, he gave me a 0. And he thought that since I was the slow one, that it was I who got the homework, and I thought it most unfair. And I didn't think I would get in such trouble, but no, I took it like a man.
You know what's one of the things that's noticeable about you at Andover is when you go through the archives, you might find 2 or 3 pictures of students. But there's pictures of football, track, lacrosse, the advisory council, the interfraternity board, the student council, voted the most respected, something called the Society of Inquiry. You really were all over the place here. Is that a fair assessment?
I wasn't aware that I was involved in so many things. You sure you had the right page?
Maybe I got the wrong Hudner. No, it's you. It's you.
I don't remember what the Society of Inquiry was.
I was going to ask you what it was, but we'll pass that one off. Tell me the story about meeting with the headmaster and the faculty.
It was February afternoon. I can still remember there were splotches of snow around the campus. The reason I'm calling is I'm very concerned about the fraternity situation. And I'm thinking of closing them down, but I want to talk to all of you about it before taking any action. 4 of the other fellows wanted to keep the fraternities open, but I wanted to see them closed only because of the exclusiveness, which was unfair and made it pretty tough. They were closed, we graduated, and I don't know just when it was, but I understood it was either 1 or 2 years afterwards. The attitude was, for the most part, positive. I don't remember a single one of my classmates who expressed concern about going to war. Matter of fact, my roommate, as a middler, didn't come back at the end of the school the first year. He joined the American Field Service as an ambulance driver. Cal was one of my best friends, and we went into a KOA together, fraternity. everybody liked Cal. And he went into the Army right after graduation, ended up in Normandy and was killed on the second or third day there. A great, great loss. I was told of this African-American pilot we had in the squadron. I was in the locker room getting ready to go out on a flight when Jesse came in. He introduced himself, but he made no gesture at all of shaking my hand or anything. He didn't want to embarrass me by forcing a handshake on him. But I stuck my hand out, except for the fact that he was something of a curiosity because of his color. He wasn't treated any differently from anybody else. We went full throttle trying to get as many flights as possible up there to help our troops. So at 1:30 in the afternoon, we were scheduled for a close air support flight. We also did a lot of what they call armed reconnaissance by just flying around the area and firing at targets of opportunity. So there were 6 aircraft from our squadron, and I was flying what they call flying wing on Jesse. Jesse was what they call a section leader, and I was tail end Charlie flying on him. And Jesse called out on the radio that he was losing power and he was going to have to crash. The ground was covered, incidentally, by about 2 feet of snow, and the temperatures were around 5 to 10 degrees above zero. Well, when he hit the ground, he hit with such force that the fuselage of the airplane buckled at the cockpit. And we circled around talking to one another on the radio, and every one of us who was up there was convinced that he couldn't have survived that crash. But then we noticed that he had opened his canopy and was waving to us to let us know that he was alive. The flight leader left us to climb to a better altitude so he could call on the radio for a rescue helicopter. We knew there was some in the area. Could one of them come down and pull Jesse out of the airplane? The flight leader came back and said, the Marines will send a helicopter up, and it'll probably take half an hour before it could get here. There was smoke coming out from under the cowling of the airplane. And I thought that by the time a helicopter could get up there, that plane may have caught on fire. So I made the decision to make a landing close to his, because I felt that it was a feasible choice that I could land okay. Well, when I was able to pull myself up to look in the cockpit, I could see that his leg was pinned by the side of the fuselage where it had been crumpled, and the control stick. And there was just nothing I could do. I needed one hand just to hang on. Jesse and I had talked a little bit, but it was a struggle for him to talk. His words were, Tom, we've got to figure out a way to get out of here. And Charlie said that he had to get out of there because he couldn't fly his helicopter after dark in the country like that. He gave me the choice of going with him and leaving Jesse there or staying there, which would have been suicide. So we told him we had to get more equipment, but we'd be back, knowing it was a bald-faced lie. But he said during that time, if anything ever happens to me, tell my wife how much I love her. So there were times when I'd say something to him, I'd get no response. And I didn't know whether he was conscious or what. But I'm quite sure that when we left him that he had passed away. The fact that it happened was not met with great joy by a lot of people. Apparently, our squadron captain, commander, he said, no, if anybody goes down, I don't want to have any heroes here trying to crash land this airplane. The very thing that I did later on, and I didn't know that was direct violation of orders. I didn't know a damn thing about the Medal of Honor except for what you learned in grade school. Well, it's still hard to believe that it's true. And that's a time when the widow, under very tragic circumstances, was there, and there with my family and everybody, a great jubilation among all my friends, and she was there by herself. She was just as gracious as she could be. If you are lucky enough to have the right assignments and work hard and keep your ear to the ground, the experience of being a military officer is a great challenge and very gratifying. Well, I had the opportunity to meet as fine a group of people as I know of. And incidentally, as much as I think of the Naval Academy, Andover stood for an awful lot that I had always been brought up to believe. It was instilled in us what the country meant to us. I'm very proud, and I think the education that we get here is providing our country with a bunch of leaders who, their primary purpose is not out to get the big bucks, but to be good citizens.